We're starting our podcast and we'll be having 3 episodes depending on different scenarios of Lord of the Flies. And our first episode is going to be about whether the boys in the Lord of the Flies were replaced and would become girls instead. And we will be discussing different scenarios. And our first scenario will be about the menstrual cycle, how the people would deal with it, and especially in their environment, how would they react as an entire group and being girls and all. So Kathy, start us off.
I definitely think they would panic and it would get really chaotic and they just wouldn't know what's going on. Yeah. Like you know how like when you first get your period, like you really don't know what's going on. So if this is like somewhere in the wild, like it would be even more crazy.
Yeah, true. Okay, first, apology to Aaron and Ben. You guys are gonna get uncomfortable, but how old are these girls again? 6, 12?
They're like 6 to 12, yeah.
The oldest are 12, then they're like the youngest are 6.
Yeah, so like the general age of period, like when it starts in like the anatomy, it's around like 11 or 12. From what I can tell from personal experience, and I don't think 7-year-olds or 6-year-olds would understand what it is yet. So I can tell where the scary factor comes in.
Yeah, only the like older kids, right, would have it, and they're the leaders. So I feel like some would try and hide it, or maybe
Okay,
not.
but like Michaela, what are you saying against like young people being leaders?
No,
This is offensive.
because in the book,
it's just
the
that in the
older
real book, the
kids.
older kids were the leaders.
No, yeah, I'm just suggesting a point.
Well, because
Okay, young
I
people
feel
can
like
be
in a
leaders too.
survival situation, the older kids would take the lead naturally, and they'd also be the
Okay.
ones with the people. So it would affect them more than the little kids. And I feel like they'd shelter the little kids from knowing, and it'd be more like a big problem for the
But
leader.
even as a 12-year-old, like they don't even know what they're doing themselves too, which I get why like would cause themselves to be even more panicky too.
And they don't have at that time any products or
Products, yeah.
yeah.
That's a good point. They don't really like even if they know what's going on, they don't have the same like necessities they would as at home to take care of it.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that like in their time period, like post World War II, they did have like products and stuff, but it's just not up to par as like right now. Like I don't believe they had when were
But
I
they're
think
stranded
tampons
on
were
an
made in
island.
like the 30s, huh?
They're stranded on an island. I think out of all the cargo that may have made it onto the show, period products are a pretty unlikely one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just mention it.
But yeah,
And
so
then
having maybe like not as well as the ones we have now is still better than having like nothing on a stranded island.
yeah. I mean like what would they use in place of like a pad, for example?
Leave.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A leaf.
Yeah, that's so real. Like, what would they
That's so
do?
bad.
No, what if no, think about this, guys. What if they like wrap sand and leaf or something so like the sand absorbs the blood or
Dude,
something?
that hurts.
Girl, I don't
That'd be
think
terrible.
I don't think we're like in the same universe. Sand is not like it
That's
can't
really
absorb
bad,
at
man.
all.
Like, would you personally do that, Kathy? Like,
I don't know.
some leaves? I don't know.
Me personally, honestly, like
Or just let yourself bleed out. Just
honestly, yeah. Like
Me
it's
personally,
better
They'd
than
struggle a lot.
risking
Ben, don't
an
talk.
infection. It's better than risking like rashes, infections. I would
Wouldn't
just
it be-
bleed.
okay, first of all, they wouldn't really know about rashes and infections because they wouldn't really understand that. And second of all, wouldn't they just wash it in the ocean? Like maybe it wouldn't be fun.
Okay, the
but
ocean's salty and gross.
I understand it's salty, but maybe there's a freshwater stream on the island. But the point is like that's
The river.
they don't
It's
really
an
have,
island?
they don't really have any other way of washing it out. Gotta do it somehow, right? Right?
Yeah, but like, okay, isn't like water filters a thing for like the ocean water? I don't know. Personally,
Water
I haven't
filters
been
They
on an
wouldn't
island.
have
like,
water
are we assuming that
filters.
they're just gonna like immediately manage to make a water filter?
I feel like
But like, isn't it possible?
It's
I don't know if
honestly
they would have
Oh,
I don't think
ocean
it's
I mean, the
solid
simplest way to
either.
do it is just to boil water,
Yeah.
turn with salt from it, but that means you need like a pot or something. And again, that's just attributing them a lot of technological prowess that they just don't have.
I mean, you don't need a pot necessarily. You can like
You can just.
get.
I
I
mean,
feel like they
like
could just use the river because if it's safe
Yeah,
enough to
okay.
drink out of, it should be fine to like wash yourself
Okay.
with.
fine.
Yeah.
Fresh
We
water.
also
mean,
don't know
even-
like what they had, or like what was on the island because they don't explain it much.
Yeah.
I think
And the
boys
boys
would
don't
manage
have
to
this
throw a period
problem, so
products.
it's not really
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
they
no,
would-
not really. And then they wouldn't really know how to deal with it like sustainably, not sustainably, but like in a long-term sense, because it does last for a few days. I mean, depending on like each person's body, but generally it lasts a few days. So they're gonna have to, they're almost like was it? They have to endure through it, and then it'll be very uncomfortable.
it would also like. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm just talking about like cramps. And they don't
Oh
have
my
any-
gosh. Actually, they're pretty young, so their cramps would most like. It's probably not as bad. Like my cramps didn't start like till like this year. I didn't have cramps
Me
until this
too,
year.
this summer.
You guys
Yeah.
get cramps?
Rose
It's
No,
so
mine
bad.
were really bad when I was younger.
Okay, anyways,
I think
my
I would have
gosh,
died
I said-
Moving on.
personally.
we can go back to
But,
the girls.
Yeah.
on the
Anyways,
island.
I think it's a thing where like not only is it like just a hassle to deal with, but it also could potentially just set them back because because again it's like their oldest people, their leaders, so that puts their leaders out. Like because if they're not like able to lead to their full capacity because they're dealing with this, then it's like then it will like who's especially when it comes to like the little ones, they might not know what to do because they're like, oh, like should we just like do we hunt, like what do we do, because they probably won't be getting as much directions because the older kids have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like in my opinion, they probably appoint like other leaders or other girls to be like co-leaders for like the time being. And then when one leader like recovers, because like they don't have periods at the same time, so it's only
You know
like a
about
few.
sinking? Oh my god. Oh my god.
I was literally gonna talk about that, but I didn't know if I was.
What?
But yeah.
What?
Okay, anyway.
I think it would also
Um,
make the power imbalance like more prominent because everyone would
Yeah.
be like
Oh, totally.
sometimes people would be out because of their periods. So the little ones could get more confused.
But that might
About,
actually
like-
be helpful because we see that in like the original book, right? Jack kind of got into a position of absolute power because he wasn't really being put out of commission. But if someone was kind of replacing him every now and again, that might actually help because it would give people kind of a different perspective. So it might actually be good overall.
Okay, we can move on to the next. How do we think killing the pig would be different? Would it be different at all?
Yeah, like on the topic of blood. So, Janessa, will you bring us into that one?
Yeah, so I did a lot of research on like different diets and like how women would eat in around the 1950s, and there were a lot of like different weird diets, like different fads, because all of them were trying to like appeal to like their husband or just appeal to society way more than they would now, because now we're way more focused on like self-love instead of like this one universal figure that is acceptable. So there was this one diet that I found, and it was a soup diet, and they literally just ate soup for like all of their meals, and that also didn't have any meat in it. So that was the one thing where like a lot of women would possibly just not want to eat meat, because women also are more likely to be vegan instead of men. They're twice as likely actually. So it's possible that not only are some of them vegan, but some of them like were on a diet. They don't really know how to, or they don't really want to eat meat anymore. So that is a possibility, and that leads me to believe that they wouldn't kill the pig as quickly, at least, or even at all.
So like you're saying like according to beauty standards
Mm,
that they
kind
follow
of
a
like,
diet like most of the time, right?
yeah. It's also a thing where, like, of course, like they're in a survival situation, so they would probably be pretty quick to like give up like that, like the strictness of a diet, but they probably wouldn't like. I think I would probably just try to like especially like at the beginning, because a lot of them thought that they were gonna get rescued, right? So
Yeah.
that was the main reason why they didn't want to build like shelters or do farms. Like I would probably like, if I was a woman, I would be like, oh, if we're gonna get rescued anyway, like I probably shouldn't like break my diet if we're gonna get rescued anyway. So I'd probably like try to stay away from things that would like break that diet. But obviously, as we get more into it, like they're gonna need the nutrients. So um the I'm just saying that I think that the women would probably, or the girls would probably like stay the killing of the pig would at least be prolonged in that sense.
Yeah, I can see that as like their like minds deteriorate, or not minds, but more like morals
But
and like their
on the
sense
other
of right.
hand, on the other hand, first of all, these kids are 12, right? So they probably wouldn't be as into pleasing their like husbands because they
Oh
don't
yeah,
have
sure.
any,
But also like
hopefully.
Forgot.
But
also sorry, wait, sorry, let me let you finish.
okay. So also, I think there would probably be enough of them that if they're stranded, yes, hopefully eventually to sustainably be like, oh yeah, we should be like vegetarian, sustainable, yada yada yada. But probably the knee-jerk reaction of like, okay, we've landed on a deserted island, there are animals, how do we get food? The knee-jerk reaction would probably be just animals, right? So it's not really surprising that the boys did that, and I think the girls would follow the same rationale.
Yeah, I feel
I think,
like since they're kids, oh, sorry, can I finish?
yeah.
I feel like since they're kids too, the diets might have been more pushed on them by their like parents and society. So I don't feel like they'd have that much of a want to stick to them. And I feel like they would turn to alternatives besides the pig. So
I think it's also a thing where like hunting is harder than like people think. So I think like, again, it took them a lot of tries to even kill the first pig. So I think that's also another thing where like it's just a lot of energy that I don't think that the girls would put their time into until later, because I think they would, because we all know that uh women have a history of gathering and farming since like for a very long time. So I think that would also be another thing where they could forage on the island. But also, we know that the boys fished a lot, and I think that's something that they would turn to more quickly as well. Just because I think that the pig would not only go against a lot of the girls' like moral sense, especially since a lot of them since a lot of them like would have that more empathetic sense as well. I think they would turn to fishing more and gathering more, because I think that would just be easier for them to do as well, more like energy efficient as well.
Yeah, like not even talking about the empathetic side, like because I think personally, females are more empathetic than men or emotional, not in a dramatic sense, but more sensitive. And then like just not avoiding to kill the pig would be easier in like effort wise because they are pretty young, so they don't really know how to kill a pig. But fishing and farming seems more efficient, though it might be more long term.
Yeah, and I also think that, oh sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, I also think that I think about it, I do think the girls would end up killing a pig just like the guys would, especially especially because I do think someone would be like, oh, like the the fishing and the gathering isn't enough food. So I do think that they would end up killing a pig, but I don't think they would do it to that extremity as well, because again, talking about like the empathetic sense of it, I think they would just get it over with like as quickly as possible, because we know that they went in for like multiple jabs even though we knew that the pig was dead. So that's another aspect I wanted to bring up. And oh my gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. But yeah, I think that they would not think about hunting until they have used up all of their resource or all of their skills in gathering and fishing as possible.
I think potentially the other issue is that at least for farming, as you said earlier, we should finish up, but the rationale for not building the huts was that they hoped they were going to rescue short term. So farms are more of a long-term thing, right? So to plant a crop, you need maybe 3 months. To let it grow, that's maybe 9 months to a year. Farming is a definitely long-term thing, which is probably wouldn't be a consideration if we go by the rationale that they didn't plan for long-term survival.
Yeah.
I can
So
see
you're
them like
saying,
picking
yeah.
from trees and like nuts that they find. But I think like while the boys are still hunting instead of farming, the girls would have already started to farm. Like yeah, it's
I
a lot.
think after,
Oh,
sorry, I cut you off.
you go.
I think after the first month, they would definitely start farming, just because like after the first month is when it really sets in. Oh, we're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
So like that's another thing. And I think that would also probably carry them longer. So there wouldn't be like agreed to killing the pig.
Speaking of carrying them longer, we will actually carry this longer and we'll make some more podcasts. So with that, let's say goodbye,
Transition.
everybody.
Okay. That was a
Okay,
fire.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Okay.